Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to be exploring this idea. It's called Bitmoons.
Bitmoons?
You ever heard of those?
I have not.
Yeah, me neither. Until I came across the work of this debtness coach, Tony Fagali.
Okay.
And basically, he's got all these notes and articles and things suggesting that there's this like whole hidden system of value that we're all participating in.
Interesting.
Almost like a social currency, but we don't even realize it.
Like a hidden economy.
Yeah, exactly. And he makes this really interesting point right at the beginning.
Okay.
He says that most of us, like constantly, we're switching between these two different worlds of value.
Okay.
And one is all about those like clear-cut transactions, you know.
Right, yeah.
The bitcoins of our lives.
The Bitcoin.
So salaries, buying groceries, paying rent, all that.
It was every day, very measurable, yeah.
Measurable, yeah.
Transactions.
But then there's this other realm, this Bitmoon side, where things get a lot more
murky,
yeah, nuanced. It's harder to define.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so interesting to try and tease this apart.
Absolutely.
And see what we can learn from it.
So what is it? Like, what's so different about this Bitmoon world?
Well, you know, think about those times when you're helping a friend move.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you offer to cover someone's shift at work or something like that.
Sure.
You're not exactly getting paid, like, in dollars for that, right?
No.
But there is still this sense of exchange happening, right? It's like an unspoken obligation being created.
Yeah.
And that, Fagali calls that a Bitmoon. I think it's a Lebanese term.
Okay.
And it gets at this deep sense of indebtedness you kind of build within a relationship.
That rings so true.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you owe that friend one now.
Exactly.
But it's not something you'd ever put on, like, an invoice or something.
No, exactly.
There's no price tag.
And it's not just those big favors either.
Okay.
Fagali uses all sorts of examples, like military buddies showing up for each other decades later when one of them needs help.
Yeah.
Or having that one connection in a new city that you can totally rely on, no questions asked, you know?
Yeah.
Those are Bitmoons in action.
So it's like building up this social equity.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Almost like a savings account.
Right, yeah.
Of goodwill.
Of goodwill, yeah.
And, you know, it makes me think about, like, those friends.
Sure.
Who are just always there for you, no matter what.
You know, they got your back.
Yeah, they've definitely earned some serious Bitmoons in my book.
Right. They're rich in Bitmoons, yeah.
Bitmoon millionaires.
Exactly. And that's a great way to think about it.
So we're investing in these relationships.
Yeah.
Without realizing it.
I think so.
And then those Bitmoons are the currency we're building up.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I found really interesting. Fagali says, unlike Bitcoin, which is finite, you know, and it's meant to be held on to.
You got to hold it, right?
Yeah.
Hold your Bitcoin.
Yeah. He says Bitmoons, they're infinitely abundant.
Interesting.
And they actually need to be spent to be truly valuable.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's where I was like, whoa, okay, this is
a shift in thinking.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at it.
It is.
So hold on to the Bitcoin. Spend the Bitmoons.
I like that. Yeah.
I'm starting to see where this is going.
Yeah, me too.
So to put it simply, it's like Bitcoin is about scarcity, right?
Yeah.
The fewer there are, the more valuable they become.
Like a limited edition.
But Bitmoons they're different.
Yeah.
Their value comes from the act of giving and service.
It's about putting them out there in the world.
And the more you spend them on others, the stronger your connections become.
Right. Yeah, those bonds get strengthened.
Almost like it's like you're exercising a muscle.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, you know, have we been undervaluing this whole Bitmoon system?
That's a good question.
Especially in a world that seems so focused on these Bitcoin transactions.
You know, everyone's trying to grind, to hustle.
Yeah, it's all about the bottom line.
Yeah, exactly. The numbers.
The numbers. And I think Fagali's point is, you know, maybe we're missing something here.
Maybe we are.
Yeah, there's this whole other dimension of value that we need to be paying attention to.
Okay, I'm ready to explore that.
All right, let's do it.
Let's see where this takes us.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're talking about like intentionally blurring the lines between these Bitcoins and Bitmoons.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating concept.
Yeah, I think so.
But it also makes me think, like, are there any pitfalls here?
I think that's a really good point to bring up.
Like, what happens if you misjudge the situation?
Yeah.
And you end up kind of like overspending those Bitmoons.
Right.
You know, like going bankrupt, socially bankrupt or something.
Well, that's where I think the real art of navigating these two currencies comes in.
Okay.
And Figali actually cautions against constantly operating on that Bitmoon wavelength.
Oh, interesting. Always giving, giving, giving without setting clear boundaries.
Yeah.
He says that can actually lead to burnout and resentment.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Like you start to feel taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
Like your generosity is being taken for granted.
Exactly. It's like running a business.
Yeah.
Where you're just constantly giving away products and services for free.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually, you're going to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
Right. And the same principle applies to those Bitmoons.
So how do you strike that balance then?
Right.
Like, how do you know when you're being generous versus when you're being exploited?
That's the million Bitmoon question, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think Figali suggests that you really need to pay close attention to the signals that you're getting from the other person.
Yeah.
Is there a sense of reciprocity?
Mm-hmm.
Do they acknowledge and appreciate your efforts?
Yeah.
Or do they seem to be taking you for granted?
Taking it for granted, yeah.
Expecting you to always be there to bail them out no matter what.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's really about, I think, looking for those signs of mutual respect.
Mutual respect, yeah.
And understanding in the relationship. And if you're constantly feeling drained, or like you're being used, that's a big red flag.
Red flag, yeah.
That maybe you need to reevaluate that relationship.
Yeah, and it also makes me think that, not all relationships
that's a good point.
are created equal, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Some are, naturally more transactional.
More on that Bitcoin side of things.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Very clear cut, what you give, what you get.
Yeah.
While others have that stronger foundation of mutual support and generosity.
Right.
And I think Figali encourages us to be discerning about where we invest those Bitmoons, focusing on the relationships where there's that genuine connection and shared values.
Shared values, yeah.
Where you feel like you're both on the same page.
It's not about being stingy with your Bitmoons.
No, not at all.
But it's about being strategic.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about being savvy, not naive.
Savvy, okay, I like that.
And what's interesting?
What?
He also says that sometimes the most powerful Bitmoon investments are the ones we make in those unexpected places.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about those random acts of kindness.
Okay.
Like holding the door open for a stranger.
Sure.
Or offering to help someone who's struggling with their groceries.
Yeah.
Or just even lending a listening ear to somebody who just needs to vent, get something off their chest.
Yeah.
Those are Bitmoons in action, too.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
And, they might not have an immediate return on investment.
Right.
In the traditional sense.
Yeah.
But I think what Figali is suggesting is that they contribute to this more positive and supportive social fabric.
Kind of like paying it forward.
Exactly. And it ultimately benefits everyone.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Just these like small acts. They can brighten someone's day.
Yeah, totally.
And even if it's just for a moment, it creates that connection.
Right. And that's what it's all about, I think.
Yeah.
It's about building those connections. Even if they're fleeting.
Yeah.
They still matter.
So it's not just about like the big grand gestures
or
like heroic acts.
Right.
It's really the everyday stuff.
Yeah, and I think Figali argues that sometimes those everyday Bitmoons are even more valuable.
More valuable, okay.
Yeah, because they're so easy to overlook.
Right.
We take them for granted.
Yeah.
But they really do matter.
So what are some examples of those everyday Bitmoons?
Well, I think it can be things like, offering a genuine compliment.
Okay.
Actively listening to someone's perspective, or just being present and engaged when you're having a conversation with someone.
Right.
Really giving them your full attention.
Instead of being on your phone the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Putting the phone away, making eye contact.
It's funny, I realize now, like, I probably do spend a lot of Bitmoons.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
Without even realizing it.
Without even thinking about it.
Right.
Like, helping a colleague with a project.
Yeah.
Even if it's not technically my job.
Exactly.
Or offering to babysit for a friend who's, totally overwhelmed.
Those are all Bitmoons.
Those are Bitmoons. Okay.
And those actions might seem small.
Yeah.
But they can have a huge impact on the people around us.
Okay.
It's about cultivating that mindset of generosity and support.
Generosity, yeah.
Recognizing that we're all interconnected and that our actions have that ripple effect.
So it's not about like keeping score.
No.
Or expecting like a quid pro quo for every Bitmoon you spend.
Exactly. It's not a transaction. Nope. It's about something bigger.
Yeah, it's about creating like a better world.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, like a more positive and supportive kind of social ecosystem.
Where we're all willing to contribute and help each other out.
And this is where I think it gets really, really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Because Figali makes this argument that this Bitmoon mindset can actually influence Bitcoin outcomes.
Wow, that's a bold claim.
Yeah, it's like how could spending Bitmoons lead to like tangible success in that traditional Bitcoin world?
I think that's a question a lot of people probably have because it seems almost counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But let's think about it for a second.
Okay.
When you consistently invest in building strong relationships, in cultivating goodwill, it creates this foundation of trust and reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
People are more likely to want to work with you, to recommend you to others.
Right.
To go the extra mile for you.
It's like you're building up social capital.
I like that, social capital.
Yeah, and that can translate into,
real opportunity. Yeah. Advantages.
Yeah. That you wouldn't have otherwise.
It's almost like those Bitmoon investments are kind of like they're laying the groundwork.
Yeah.
For future Bitcoin success.
They're creating that fertile soil.
Yeah.
For those Bitcoin seeds to grow. I like that.
And it's not just about those direct benefits either, right?
Right.
Because when you approach the world with this Bitmoon mindset, you're also contributing to a more positive, supportive...
Absolutely. It lifts everyone up.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think that creates a win-win situation for everyone involved.
Okay, so we've talked about like the positive side of Bitmoons.
Right.
But it also makes me wonder...
Like, what about the flip side of that coin?
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
What happens when people are too focused on the Bitcoin side of things? Always calculating, always looking for a return on their investment.
Right, they're playing the game.
Yeah.
But maybe they're playing the wrong game.
Or maybe they're missing part of the game.
Exactly, and I think that goes back to Figali's core argument.
Okay.
That true happiness and success come from mastering both currencies.
Well,
finding that sweet spot where you can leverage the strengths of each system without falling into the traps of either one.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Right.
How do we avoid those traps?
Yeah, especially in a world that seems to be increasingly obsessed with those Bitcoin metrics of success.
Yeah, the money, the status, the stuff.
Right, exactly. The outward markers of achievement.
Yeah.
And I think Figali has some really insightful strategies for navigating these two worlds effectively.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Let's delve into those and see what we can learn.
Okay, so we've been talking Bitcoins, Bitmoons, how they shape how we interact with each other.
Yeah.
It seems like finding that balance is really key.
Right.
But easier said than done.
Right. It is.
Especially when you consider like so much of the world seems obsessed with those traditional, Bitcoin measures of success.
Right. The money, the status, the possessions.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think Figali actually addresses that head on. He argues that, it's precisely because we're bombarded with these messages about financial success, material gain, that we need to be even more intentional about cultivating that Bitmoon mindset.
Intentional about Bitmoons.
Yeah, because it's about remembering that true wealth isn't just about the numbers in your bank account. Right. It's about the richness of your relationships and the impact you have on the world around you.
It makes me think about those people who seem to have it all,
Yeah.
The money, the career, the possession.
The outward trappings of success.
Yeah, but they're still unhappy.
Right.
Maybe it's because they've neglected that Bitmoon side.
That's a really insightful observation, and Figali actually talks about that.
He does.
Yeah, he suggests that focusing solely on those external markers of success can actually lead to this sense of emptiness.
Oh, wow.
Dissatisfaction.
Okay, so how do we avoid falling into that trap then?
Right, that's the question.
Like, how do we cultivate that Bitmoon mindset?
Yeah.
Without sacrificing our ambitions and goals.
Right, because we still want to achieve things, right?
We do, yeah.
We have dreams, we have aspirations.
Yeah, we want the Bitcoin.
We want the Bitcoins, but we also want the Bitmoons.
Okay.
And I think Figali offers this really practical suggestion.
Oh.
He encourages us to shift our focus from what we can get to what we can give.
Give, okay.
It's about recognizing that true fulfillment comes from contributing to something larger than ourselves.
That sounds a little idealistic, doesn't it?
Well, it might sound that way at first.
Yeah.
But I think what Figali is getting at is it's not about neglecting our own goals.
Right.
It's about recognizing that those goals don't have to be at odds with that Bitmoon mindset.
Oh.
In fact, he argues that by incorporating those principles of generosity, reciprocity into our everyday lives, we can actually enhance our chances of achieving those goals in a way that feels more meaningful.
More meaningful. So how does that work? Like, how can being more generous actually help us achieve our own ambitions?
Well, think about it this way. When you approach your work, your relationships, from a place of abundance, generosity, it creates this positive feedback loop. People are more likely to trust you, want to collaborate with you, support your endeavors.
It's like you're building up this network of goodwill.
Exactly.
That can kind of sustain you.
Yeah, like a safety net, almost. It can catch you when you fall.
And then also open up new opportunities.
Exactly. Doors open that you never even knew existed.
It's almost like those Bitmoon investments are laying the groundwork for future Bitcoin success.
I like they're setting the stage. And it's not just about those tangible benefits either.
Right.
Figali argues that cultivating this Bitmoon mindset also brings this sense of inner peace.
Oh, interesting.
Satisfaction.
Okay.
When you're focused on contributing to the well-being of others, it shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance, from competition to collaboration.
It's like you're tapping into this different kind of currency then.
Exactly.
Yeah, one that's based on connection.
Connection.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Rather than just material gain.
And that currency, Figali suggests, is ultimately more valuable and enduring
than any amount of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
This has been so eye-opening, I feel like.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I'm seeing the world through this whole new lens now.
That's what we hope for.
Yeah, one that's attuned to these subtle but powerful Bitmoon exchanges.
They're happening all around us.
Yeah, they really are.
All the time.
I'm really glad we had this conversation.
Me too.
I think it's something that our listeners can really benefit from.
And I hope they're feeling inspired to start incorporating these principles into their own lives.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be about these grand gestures or heroic acts.
Right.
It can be as simple as offering a compliment, lending a listening ear, or just being present,
Being present,
engaged in your interactions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those small acts of kindness and generosity, they can have that ripple effect.
Yeah. It's creating that better world.
Exactly.
That we were talking about.
And as Figali so eloquently puts it, he asks, have you dispensed your Bitmoon today?
Ooh, that's good.
It's a question worth pondering, I think, as we navigate this complex world.
That's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference.
Absolutely.
To create a world where both Bitcoins and Bitmoons can flourish.
I like that. Let's make it a Bitmoon economy.
Bitmoon economy. There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.